Our CPAs outside of AEP, don't get scared here because the math still works, outside of AEP are 600. However, when you put on the attach rate for ancillary, you now start doing life insurance. We're starting a wealth division this year. I expect within the next 12 to 24 months that we'll be doing $200 to $300 million in annuities.
A lot of people have heard of EIP, but don't know kind of the history of EIP. Jagger, you haven't been the most on social media out there self-promoting type guys. You've been really just the operator behind the scenes that's been growing EIP to what it's become today. But a little bit of the backstory. You didn't start off in the call center space. You started off as a marketer with one of the bigger groups out there. And then after a few years of that, you decided, hey, I want to jump in head first into this call center space. But you did it with, I think, just you, one other partner, David, and maybe one agent or two agents out of your house, I think is what it was. How was that?
Yeah, it's the old garage story. We worked out of my house for about 6 months. It was me, David, and one agent. I realized that we had something going, so we found a 1,200 square foot office and moved into that about 6 months after we started EIP in September 14.
And then how do you go from just the two of you, or just the three of you actually at that point? Were you all selling? Was there just you doing marketing? What was it? Was it, from the beginning you were actually an agent selling to people over the phone?
Yeah. Very beginning, it was all three of us selling. I was generating the leads, typically after hours, after 7 p.m. I was figuring out how to generate the leads to feed the three of us. And whenever we figured out, hey, we could generate more leads than the three of us could handle, I took a back seat at that point. I kept generating the leads. I was doing a lot of the technology, the CRM stuff when we were on Microsoft Dynamics back in the day. Now we're on Salesforce. We've been on Salesforce for 8 of the 10 years. And little bit by little bit, we were hiring one agent here. We would train him. Another agent. We got to a point in the 1,200 square foot office where we had one office admin and 5 agents. Then before we moved in 2017 to our 5,000 square foot office.
Now this is going to kind of date us a little bit, but we are getting to that point where we talk about the good old days. But I think one of the negatives back then was, were there email signatures, or was it still just mailing out policies and crossing your fingers, hoping they come back with a return envelope? What was that like?
I think we were working with 7 or 8 carriers, and we were working in probably 25 to 30 states at the time. We had a whole back wall where it was just applications and applications and applications. When we moved out of the 1,200 square foot office in 2017, when we went to the 5,000 square foot office, EAPs were around at that time. And we actually had the sheriff show up to our building because we took all those applications and threw them away. And then we filled a whole dumpster from the bottom all the way to the top with old school applications.
I think it was pretty much everybody had moved over to EAPs, except what was it, United Healthcare was still, they took a while to get on the train. It was still paper.
We were still using the sign here, stickies and stuff like that. But most of the Mutual of Omaha, if I'm not mistaken, was the very first one that evolved into the EAP space, and the other core carriers, the Aetnas and the Cignas, added on pretty quickly after that.
And so then you moved in, you said a 5,000 square foot office, had 5 or 10 agents. I think that's actually the first time I came over and visited you, was in that office right there. And I remember just walking in and being like, wow, this is pretty crazy. How much they've grown, because we had spoken a little bit before that. What was it like hiring back then? Was it one agent at a time, just onesie twosies operations? And then, you bring on that one agent and then they just kind of shadow other agents in the office. It's like, hey, sit there and watch what he's doing.
It's exactly what it was. At that time, that office, the 5,000 square foot office, had about 35 total people. We had a a bullpen area, half of the building. The cubicles were great. They were 6x6s. It sat about 20 cubicles in there, and then the other half was just all offices around the perimeter. Middle was restrooms and a break room. But we were hiring typically 1 to 2 agents at a time. We would put them through a Med 101 training for 2 days, 3 days now. If we're talking a week and a half of Med 101, and then actual sales trainings, almost a week and a half, and then another 3 months of nesting. But anyways, back then it was a lot of, hey, let's teach you Medicare. And then let's have you ride along with somebody and actually listen to calls. And then we'd kind of throw you to the wolves after a few weeks of that.
And after you do that, when you bring somebody on like that, was it more of a recruiting as opposed to hiring? I've been in multiple different call centers. A lot of times it's like, hey, we're going to recruit a bunch of fronters. And then if those fronters work out, we'll graduate them to a sales agent. Was that your experience? Like,
no, back then we actually hired a lot more seasoned agents at the time. So people that worked at local shops that were around us. So the first probably 10 people were actually seasoned. So the stick rate was really high. Now, when we moved from the 5,000 square foot office from when we started in there in 2017 to the new office that was 20,000 square feet in 2020, that's when we had not hiring issues. We were able to hire a lot of people. We hired a lot of unlicensed people, but we weren't hiring the right people at the time. Thought it was a good idea. Hey, let's hire people that don't come with bad habits. And that's where we really started that 2019, 2020, but we were losing 7 out of 10 people. You know, they wouldn't make it to 6 months. I mean, we were losing 7 out of 10 people.
I've heard you talk about the whys, and I think that's probably what that 2020 period was, where you learned that what are your whys? Why are you here? Why are you doing what you do? Was that experience that you had where it was 7 out of 10 people falling off, is that learning process of learning how to hire, how to expand.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you guys started implementing after you realized, like, hey, we're kind of churning through agents as opposed to, getting people that are coming on for a career? What were those learning things that you did that really made big changes for you?
We implemented a few different technologies, some different programs where we were doing a personality assessment and really understanding the person. Because, I mean, everybody says they have a great culture. I feel like we've got an amazing culture. So we really focused on who that person was. You know, what did their life look like? What did they have going on? And we hired a lot of amazing people, really from 2020 to 2024. We hired a lot of culture fits into the company, but it was lacking some accountability, for those 3 to 4 years. And that's something that we really incorporated in 24, and we'll get there here in a few minutes. But from 24 and 25, I mean, back then when we were losing 7 out of 10 people, we're probably now keeping 8 out of 10 people.
Okay. I mean, that's a major change and a major switch. Now, one of the things that I've heard with EIP, especially because EIP is still completely privately held. You haven't been bought by the big groups of the world. But I've come across a lot of these other smaller agencies that have been kind of stuck at that 5 to 7, 5 to 10 agents in-house. You talk about 2020, you went into a 20,000 square foot office. Well, then in 2023, you made another big giant change, and you made it threefold at that point. You went into 60,000 square feet. Our office in Tampa, I mean, you can definitely get lost in if it's your first time there. So, I mean, what's motivated you to continue to just kind of keep pushing it and growing over this time?
Yeah, so go back to 2017, when David and I sat down when we decided to buy that building, and like I said, it's in the mid-30s, we said, hey, we're going to fill this thing up, do a handful of $1 million in revenue a year, and, that was going to be our home forever. Filled that completely up, breaking out of the seams, didn't have parking, and we looked at each other and we're like, we still enjoy this. We're having fun. Why do we need to stop? Cash is coming in. We're making money. We bootstrapped it from the ground up. We didn't get, a whole bunch of investment or anything else like that. So, and we've done from A to Z, from cleaning the toilets to, what we do today. So we looked at each other and we're like, okay, let's move into the 20,000 square feet. And that was the same idea back in 2020. Hey, let's get to, that one's at about 120 total team members there. That wasn't just that's all departments, not just sales. And we got about 3/4 of the way full. We knew we were going to outgrow the space in less than a year. And again, we sat down and we looked at each other and we're, hey, are we having fun? Yeah, we're having fun. We're making money. We're enjoying it. The industry is amazing. Our carrier partners are amazing. Like, let's not stop growing. And then that's when we started looking in 2022. So we had our lease until 24, late 24. So when we moved out, we moved into this new office and we were paying for the rent over in Palm Harbor and the rent over here, but we knew that we were going to outgrow the space quickly, which we have. I mean, we're at 175 total team members. We'll be north of 220 or 230 by end of the year this year.
Now, you mentioned something there, over in Palm Harbor versus over where we're at now. I think that growth forced you to kind of make a little bit of a uncomfortable in a way, because now instead of driving 5 minutes to the office, now it's a 40-minute drive to the office. But that was the decision that you guys made, that, hey, if we want to grow, we need to get to a more metropolitan area. We need to get a wider place that we can hire from. And so you were forced to move. Now we're located in Tampa. Was that a big decision of like, hey, there's a sacrifice that we got to make, but if we want to keep growing, we need to broaden our horizons out of smaller Palm Harbor into Tampa?
Yeah. I mean, if you talk to anybody on the recruiting team, it was huge moving from when we were hiring in Palm Harbor. Now, mind you, in the 20,000 square foot office, we were hiring 5 to 10 people at a time now, where our hiring classes. And that's when we really started evolving the Med 101. That was probably about a week training, and then they went into Sales 101 for a week. So the training has kind of been the same, but recruiting was much more difficult just to hire 5 or 10. These classes today, I mean, we've got a life team that's starting on Monday. We'll be at probably 33 people officially hired for that class. Our Medicare class that started a few months ago, I think it was in February, if I'm not mistaken. That was 29. So we're hiring in classes of 30 now. We wouldn't have been able to do that in Palm Harbor.
And we actually had to shut off our recruiting efforts early on the life class, because it was like, oh, we're not going to be at 30, 33. We're going to be at 37.
Yeah.
So we need to so that was a huge help, was making that change. So sometimes it's where you're located. We're outside of outside of the bigger city, and maybe making that change is a big thing that can help an agency jump to that next step, is finding that area where, you got to go to where your employees are. And so making that change over to Tampa. Now, not only did you move and do all this stuff, we started off as a med sup first agency. I don't know if we were doing much out of med sups. Were we even writing PDPs back in the day, or was it just purely just write med sup, help people enroll on Medicare?
No ancillaries, no PDPs. It was med sup, and that was it. Really from 2014 to, I would say, close to 2019, it was strictly med sup. We were always helping with PDPs, but we weren't officially writing it because of the compliance and everything else like that. And then in 2019, what we did is we brought on, and a lot of groups still do this today, and I'd love to be able to help some people kind of work and navigate through this, but is we hired a underwriting team. That underwriting team really was our PDP and MA enrollment specialist. So if we ended up needing to help somebody sign up for a PDP, or we found out that an MAPD was the best fit for the consumer, the Medicare or the MedSup agent would do a needs analysis, do fact finding. Hey, MA is the best plan for you. Here's the best plan for you, right? Then they would transfer it over to the underwriting team, and then they would actually do the enrollments. But up until 2023, until late 2023, we were dominantly a med sub shop.
Yeah. Now, just so that everybody's clear, everybody on the team's licensed.
Yes.
Right. But not everybody is trained or specializes in each of the different fields, at least back then. Nowadays, I think we can say it's a little bit different.
100% hybrid.
Yeah, our agents are all hybrid.
I mean, for a call center the size of us today, I honestly don't know of one group that is our size that is hybrid like us.
Yeah, because most of them, they have an MA team, they have a med sup team, but don't have them doing both. And that's kind of what it was back when you were talking about the underwriters. That was like our customer support team. They could specialize in that. They had all the certifications, all the everything needed to be able to do that. But now we've moved into that hybrid mode. And I think, what's our average MA to med sup ratio overall as a company now that everybody's hybrid?
So 2023, prior to April 23 is when we actually went 100% hybrid. We transitioned our med sup team to offer Medicare Advantage. So prior to that, I mean, it was like 95% Medicare supplement, 5% Medicare Advantage. Where we finished the year in 2023 was 85% Medicare supplement, 15% Medicare Advantage. 24 was 70% med sup, 30% Medicare Advantage. As of today, we're actually like 73-27, but I think we'll probably finish the year at about 70-30. And then moving forward in our models, we're showing that we're going to have about a 5% year over year that'll go towards Medicare Advantage. I'd love to keep it at 95.5. I love MedSup. MedSup is the product that I would buy. I'm going to sell my parents and everything else, but the market is evolving, and our models are evolving with it. So I think by 2030, we'll be roughly 50-50.
I mean, right now, the market overall is 50-50, but still with our advertising today, with the way our agents are trained, with the way that they educate the clients, we still find that the majority of people are going to the Medicare supplement.
If you educate them the right way, and they're not duals, right? Now, mind you, big statistic here, of the 30% of our business that we're doing on the Medicare Advantage side, 90% of that is traditional, and only 10% are D-SNP and C-SNP.
Now, you mentioned that our newest class that's getting ready to start up here is a life class.
Yeah.
And now we haven't talked about life insurance. That's completely new. Yes, life insurance or final expense kind of molds well together with Medicare supplements, but it's a whole different line. It's a different sales pitch. It's a different thing. So that is something that we've separated off, and our agents are life agents or Medicare agents.
Yeah. So we prior to that, I mean, we stuck to what we were best at, right? And we didn't go work with life insurance. And I mean, we didn't even start doing ancillary really until probably 2019 as well. Like I said, MedSup. Taylor and Galen, shout out to them. I shout them out a lot. You know, they came in and showed us, hey, you can attach dental, vision, and hearing to this, cancer, heart attack, and stroke, hospital indemnity to your Medicare Advantage. And now our attach rate's it's right around 60% to our core Medicare clients up to this point. But again, we didn't start. We founded the company in 2014. We sold MedSup from 2014 all the way until 2019. That's what we focused on. That's what we did. Added ancillary, added PDP before that, then added ancillary in, and then we didn't start doing we didn't start doing other things until really recently. I mean, we just started Brokerage. I mean, you're VP of our Brokerage team, and you started in October of 23. So we really bootstrapped it, focused on our core business from September of 14 until October of 23. And then recently, like you just said, September of 24, so we're not even at a year now, we started life insurance. And it looks final expense, 55 plus market, our average client at enrollment. And I can't wait to tell you how we start attaching Medicare to this, but our average client at enrollment right now is 67 years old.
Okay. So now you bring up, life insurance and brokerage, and it took a long time to get to the brokerage point. I mean, 2023 started in 14. That's 9 years in the business, growing all that time, selling tens of thousands of Medicare supplement policies over that time period, millions of dollars of premium every year. Why did you finally decide to go into the brokerage? What was the thing that kind of made it happen?
Yeah, it was a little bit. It was two things. I mean, number one thing was, I was able to, my background was AmeriLife, and I from 2024, I worked at AmeriLife. So I understood the deals and the points and what was out there, what wasn't out there. I understood that. And with the upline that I was working with at the time, I knew I wanted more, for others. So there was two folds to it. Yes, I was able to go direct, but through the experience of going direct and writing millions and millions and millions of dollars of premium, tens and tens of thousands of clients on the books where we deserve the direct deals, but going through the experience to get direct, I realized at that point that I wanted to start the brokerage. We were at a great point as a company to be able to do that. And I wanted people that were experiencing the same thing as me to also, be able to get what we're providing to our now downline agents.
I'll tell you what, contracting is not a fun process. And most agents only do it once or twice and then they stick with it. But I think it's important that one of the things that you always were doing was you were looking, hey, do I qualify for more? And what have I added? It's not necessarily just the premium that you did, but you've got legal, you've got compliance, you're doing all your hiring and recruiting. EIP got to the point where we're doing all the things that a top tier FMO got. And so that was a big part of making that changeover. Now, the types of people you mentioned, like the downlines and the people that you want to work with, I know we talk about it. It's kind of, the 5 to 10, 15 man shops that are EIP, but EIP 6 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, even the 3-man shops, if we've got owners of an agency that, are looking, that want to grow, that aren't just coming in and saying, hey, I want the top deals. Like, we've got the top deals. The top deals are easy to give away. All the big 3 that are out there, anybody can give you a top deal, but what else can they offer, right? We do all of our own marketing. We do all of our own compliance. We do all of our own HR. We have legal. We've got recruiting, right? You name it, right? Out of our 175 team members today, only about 100 of them are actual licensed agents. The other 75 are all the other departments. We have a whole marketing team. We generate all of our own leads, right? We want to work with people that want to grow. We want to work with people that may be doing a whole bunch of MA that want to get into Med Sup. We may want to work with people that are doing a whole bunch of Med Sup, but they're only attaching 20 or 30%. On ancillary and stuff like that. We're cross-selling life insurance now. We're getting about 5 to 7% of our Medicare clients that are also buying life insurance that we're doing a 14-day follow-up. So the perfect person, the perfect group that we want to work with, we're not going to work with the one-man shops. It's just not going to happen. Not today. And this is you'll decide whenever you want to start doing that. But we want to work with the groups that want to grow, that we can help. We've got a very successful roadmap that we've done, over the past 10 years that we can really infuse that into that to them.
I mean, you mentioned it. We were out at some of the different conferences out there. And one of the things that I noticed that was kind of surprising, and actually a couple of people brought it up to me, just talking about EIP and, what we do, how we are so heavy Medicare supplement versus MA, is there are so many of these groups that have popped up in the last, call it 5 years, where, and I think a lot of it had to do with COVID, where you were allowed to do MA apps over the phone, where you really couldn't do them over the phone as easy before. But there's a huge amount of these shops out here that are all MA heavy. MA, maybe 100% MA. Don't do any Medicare supplements. And the reason EIP got into selling Medicare supplements or Medicare Advantage plans was because we saw a lot of business just kind of fall into the floor. Maybe we had a group that we could refer out those clients to before we were really set up with our underwriters. But the made that change over to having our agents having the ability to do both, because just how many clients we weren't able to help with Medicare supplements that still wanted to work with us. They liked the experience. And so to have that in your back pocket of being able to do both was a huge thing. And I think there's a lot of these groups out there that are running into, they're probably just kind of throwing away a lot of their business that they could be writing on the Medicare supplement side.
It depends on what type of group they are. There's groups out there that are, we're 90-10, right? Like I said, 90% traditional, 10% D-SNP, C-SNP. And of the 10%, like maybe 50 basis points is really C-SNP, right? The rest of it's D-SNP. But with that being said, there's some just enrollment agencies that are out there. And a majority of the large call centers that give me a bad name, give EIP a bad name, they're enrollment specialists. They're not there to educate the consumer and all that. Like, we as a group, we're educating you A to Z with Medicare. Here's original Medicare, here's MedSup, here's Medicare Advantage, right? Here's the gaps, here's the pluses, here's the minuses of them both. And we're going to give you full education. Now, my agents don't do 4 enrollments a day either. Our agent's goal at a senior level at 6+ months on the phone is 1.8 per day. But the stickiness of that client is they're a lifer with us. We have some of the best persistency out there because of the way that we educate the consumer. We don't push them into a MedSup. We don't push them into an MA. We don't push them into Aetna versus Cigna versus Mutual of Omaha, right? At the end of the day, we lead them to water and we let them pick what they want.
Yeah. And when we sell a policy, that policy, we expect it to be on the books, not just in 90 days or 180 days. We expect it to be on the books for multiple years.
It's the only way it makes sense. Our advertising, and I've got other videos out there, our CPAs aren't what some of those enrollment specialist shops are, right? Our CPAs aren't $100, $150, $200 a deal. Our CPAs outside of AEP, don't get scared here because the math still works, or I wouldn't be in business, or I would be owned by private equity or have a whole bunch of debt on the company that we don't have. Our CPAs outside of AEP are $600, right? For acquiring a MedSup client. However, when you put on the attach rate for ancillary, you now start doing life insurance. We'll talk about wealth here in a few minutes. We're starting a wealth division this year. I expect within the next 12 to 24 months that we'll be doing $200 to $300 million in annuities over the next couple years. Yeah, it's expensive, so we have to have them sticking.
Well, yeah, I sent you that screen grab the other day that I saw somewhere online of people talking about their stick rate, and they were looking at a 50% stick rate after I think 4 months, and that's just not the type of business we do.
I just don't understand how the carriers even make any money off of it, right? Yeah, on a D-SNP, C-SNP, they get paid more money, right? They get a higher reimbursement rate, but if it's only average persistency is 1.5 years, compared to us on a traditional, it's 4+, on a MedSup, it's 6+, right? Like, how is a carrier even making any money? But that's a different topic, different video.
Now we've also started looking for somebody that's really a specialist in the ACA space, because once again, we saw clients that wanted to work with us that are now falling to the ground because we're not able to help them out because we've got so many clients with the spouse in the house. People are working a little bit longer. They're 65, 66, 67. I think our average enrollment is 67 for a Medicare supplement now. But
no, it's almost pushing 70. It's like 69.6. When we started 10 years ago, it was in high, it was like 66.7, and we're up to like 69.7 in 10 years. Our average age at enrollment.
And that's a lot of those 69-year-olds aren't people that are coming off of another Medicare supplement. They're coming off their group plan.
Go to ChatGPT or Gronk or Google and say, what's the average retirement age in America? And if you look at the line and you look at the trend with us over the past 10 years, we're following the same trend.
But you've also still got the younger spouse, that it's maybe not working traditional. And they need that coverage. And so we're going to start helping out those people on the ACA side. I don't think it's a major focus of ours because there is so much going on in the ACA space.
Yeah, that's it. It's we're going to learn it. I mean, we're going to do almost 20,000 Medicare enrollments this year. Now we'll touch on life insurance as well. We'll do close to, I'd say between 6,000 and 7,000 life insurance apps this year. And guys, we just started this in September of 24, right? Haven't even made it at a year yet. And that's how many final expense we're going to do. But Yeah, let's talk. I'm going to talk on life, and then we can come back to the ACA. So, life insurance, September 24, started off with one agent. Today, we're sitting at. We were up to 13. I think we're down to 8 now. Just learning things, right? I mean, this is a brand new division for us. If you can do sell Medicare supplements, you can sell life insurance. If you're an enrollment specialist shop that just, does enrollments, you actually have to sell life insurance. So there is an actual sales process to life insurance. I'm really happy with the numbers. I'm so happy with the numbers that I moved our marketing team and our IT team off the second floor where we have a whole bunch of cubicles. I moved them into another area within the building, and we built out the entire second floor now with 70 seats for final expense. Curt, we're going to be, I don't even know if you knew this or not, but we will be 100% full this year in the life insurance division.
Well, I mean, you mentioned we're at 8 in the life insurance now, but we've got 33 coming on board in the next week or two.
Depends on how many pass their life and health. If we have 100% pass rate, we're probably closer to 35. If we have the numbers we normally hit, which our normal pass rate on the life and health exam is about 85%, I think we'll be right around 33, 32, 33.
Now, you mentioned if you can sell a Medicare supplement, you can sell a life policy. I think that also works in the inverse. If you can sell a final expense policy and you're a shop out there that's doing that and you're not doing Medicare,
they ain't wrong.
It's something to start looking at, because like you said, our average age of somebody that's on a final expense policy was 67.
67.
And what's our average enrollment on a Medicare supplement? 69.
69.
I mean, so start monetizing both sides of the sale is one of those things. And it's not because you want to be greedy and you want to get every single sale possible. It's because your clients are actually looking for it. I don't know how many times I get called from my old clients that have been on the books for years that are calling me about their car insurance. I'm like, I sold you a Medicare Advantage policy 8 years ago. We get that all the time in our customer service department. They call us up and they're like, oh, did you help us out with our homeowners insurance? And it's like, no, we didn't. And so it's kind of finding those places that work well within your team. And I really think the final expense and the Medicare supplements do work well together. And the clients want those policies. They don't want to have to shop with 50 different people. If you're doing a good job as an agency, you're making the sale in a way that is truly beneficial to the client. And it's everybody's saying thank you when you hang up the phone. The agent saying thank you, the client saying thank you. They're happy.
They're happy, and they're not feeling like, even if you sold them 2 ancillary policies, you sold them a dental, vision and hearing, and a cancer, heart attack, and stroke, right? If you do it the right way, they're thankful, right? They're not tired. They're not, oh man, that agent just screwed me over or anything else like that. I mean, our placement rate on our MedSup is, as long as it issues, I mean, just saying, hey, declines happen, right? That's about 10% of it all. But I mean, for the business that we submit that actually goes active, that doesn't get declined, we're like 94%.
And so that means that those people, and 94%, and then the average life of our
with
policy.
MA too, actually, as I say that. I mean, MA is about the same, of course, depending on the time of the year that you write them. Your persistency is going to be a little lower because of service area reductions, which I've heard that 2025 is going to, this AEP is going to suck just as bad as it was last year. But again, another video we can talk about. That has nothing to do with us. Now, we will try to reposition them, if they allow us into another plan at that point. But our placement rate, Q1, Q2 of the year is in the high 90s on MA too.
And they stay the average life of a policy. We talk about the average life of a policy, but we really almost need to get back to the average life of a customer with us, because like
correct.
You said,
that's what we haven't transitioned yet. But to your point, this is something that accounting's working on, is we have to start looking at the average, and we want to do it at the household level. We don't want to just do it because our spouse attach rate on MedSup is right around 30%. And MA's a little lower than that, but we're seeing life insurance spouse attach rate, it's right around 30% too. So it's almost mimicking what we're doing on the MedSup side. So we want to look at the actual house value, okay, versus the policy value or the account value. We're going to start looking at the house value.
I mean, all good things, a lot of growth that we've had in the last 10 years. Wanted to just kind of give the little bit of a backstory here about EIP, the growth. We want to continue doing these videos and talking about the important things as we continue working with other smaller groups out there, other big groups. We've got several of those that we work with as well. There's all sorts of different things that we've learned over the years, and we just think adding that and having that behind the scenes conversation could be helpful for everybody out there. So that was the point of this video today, was kind of just give the backstory, go into kind of our plans for this upcoming year and the years to come. We've got a lot of exciting things, and we're going to continue with this series moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that, I want some people to think about, and I mean, ask me in 6 months from now how well it's working, is I roughly touched on the 200 to 300 million on the wealth side. We're calling our wealth division. We're going to have probably 3 to 5 agents that we're going to find that have worked. And I think at least the first and second one, we're going to find them with experience, because you talked to me about variable and fixed annuities and all that type of stuff. I am not your guy. You ask me Medicare questions, I've got you. Final expense is pretty damn easy in my opinion. So what we're doing is we're starting the wealth team, and I really think with working with our Medicare clients, and not just going to be our med stuff, I would say 80% of the 2 to 300 million is probably going to come from our Medicare supplement. There's Medicare Advantage clients out there, right, that have 20, 30, 40 grand sitting in a 401k. They're retiring. What are they doing with that money? It's just sitting in a 401k where they're not getting much on. So we're starting the wealth division hopefully this month. And I expect over the next 12 to 18 that we will get to a point where we're writing 200 to 300 million dollars in annuities as well, which is, I'm more excited about that. I was super excited about life insurance, or we wouldn't be doubling, tripling down and hiring so many Medicare or life insurance agents. And we're hiring a whole bunch of Medicare. We'll be 100% full on Medicare by, at least in this building, sitting 330 seats, between all departments, just not just agents. We will be 100% full by Q3 of next year. And today we're sitting at 175. So that's how much we're growing. With all departments, all divisions, between now and Q3 of next year.
All good stuff. All good stuff. I think we've come to the end of our time. Let's end this here, and we'll come back and explore more topics as we move forward and continue to grow, and share with what we've learned, because we found that was the best way to grow, was making those friendships and those different connections at all the different conferences and all the different award things, was just partnering up with people. Sometimes it's not even business. Sometimes it's just becoming a good friend with somebody and never having a contract with them. But that growth that comes out of just the collaboration and things like that, we're big on here at EIP. And I think if you're not doing it, you're not reaching out and finding mentors and other people in the space, other peers that are growing at the same spaces or same pace as you. And I think it's a major mistake. And I don't think EIP would be where it's at today without some of those relationships that you've been able to build over the years.
Got a lot of mentors in the space. I don't know everything. I didn't build this. Like I said, I shout out Taylor and Galen. They helped me in the ancillary space. Well space. Somebody's helping me get into that. It's not us that is doing it, right? It's us connecting with others. So we'd love to connect with you. Love to figure out how we can help you work together on certain things. So let us know if you guys have any questions.